The weight of a confession is heavier than the truth itself, but when the world knows your deepest secret, there's no going back. That post was my release, and now it's impossible to hide the truth from anyone, especially myself. Sometimes the truth leaks out in ways you never expected. That post wasn't just words, it was my confession, my reckoning. And now every glance, every whisper carries the weight of what's been revealed. I thought I could keep this buried deep within, but once the confession was out there for all to see, everything changed. Now that everyone knows, I can't escape the questions, the judgment, or the overwhelming sense of vulnerability. There's a certain freedom that comes with confession, but it's quickly replaced with an undeniable feeling of exposure. When everyone knows the truth, the rawness of it stings in ways I didn't anticipate. That post was my confession, and now the world sees me differently. It's as if the walls I built around my heart have crumbled, leaving me exposed to the judgment and the judgment alone. I never imagined that one moment of clarity could unravel everything. My confession, once hidden in a post, now echoes through every corner of my life. And with each echo, I wonder how much of me has really been revealed. The words I posted weren't just a confession, they were a turning point. Now that the truth is out, I'm caught between relief and regret, wondering if anyone will understand the weight of what I just shared. There's something terrifying about putting your most private thoughts on display for the world to see. That post was my confession, and now the whole world knows the depth of what's inside me. I thought I could keep my feelings locked away forever, but that post was a crack in the wall. Now everyone knows, and I can't hide the truth anymore. The relief is overwhelming, but so is the fear of being judged. When you confess something to the world, you don't just reveal a truth. You expose a part of yourself that you can never get back. That post was my moment of vulnerability, and now everyone knows exactly who I am. I was too afraid to speak the words aloud, so I posted them instead. But now, as the realization sinks in that everyone knows, I feel exposed, vulnerable, and strangely free all at once. Confessions are never easy, but sometimes they slip out without warning. Now that everyone knows, I can't help but wonder if the truth was worth the price of vulnerability. That post was supposed to be my secret, my quiet cry for help. But once the world caught wind of it, it's like a floodgate opened, and now there's no escaping the feelings it stirred up. I never thought that one simple post would change everything. It was meant to be a confession, something I could finally let go of. But now that everyone knows, I wonder if I can ever feel the same again. There's a power in confession, but there's also a vulnerability that comes with it. Now that the world knows, I feel as though my every move is being watched, judged, and dissected. I posted that confession thinking it would bring me peace. But now that everyone knows, it feels like a storm has been unleashed inside me, and I'm struggling to find shelter from the chaos. What was supposed to be a moment of relief has turned into a whirlwind of emotions. That post was my confession, but now it feels like I've opened a door that I can't close. Confession is a double-edged sword. It brings clarity, but also leaves you exposed. Now that everyone knows, I'm left to navigate the aftermath, wondering if the truth was worth all this attention. That post wasn't just a confession, it was an unraveling of everything I tried to keep hidden. Now that the world knows, I'm left to pick up the pieces and figure out who I really am in the aftermath. The truth may set you free, but it also makes you vulnerable in ways you never saw coming. That post was my confession, and now everyone knows the darkest parts of me. I thought posting that confession would bring me comfort, but instead, it opened a flood of emotions I wasn't prepared for. Now that everyone knows, I wonder if I can ever truly heal. Confessing something so deeply personal was never easy, but once the post was made, I couldn't take it back. Now I'm forced to confront the reality of what I've shared, knowing everyone's watching. That post was a confession, but it's become more than that. It's an open invitation for judgment, a moment when my truth became everyone else's reality. I poured my heart into that post, thinking it was the release I needed. But now that everyone knows, I'm left to wonder if the price of truth is more than I can bear. The moment I hit send, everything changed. That post was my confession, and now it's out there for all to see. And as the reality of it sinks in, I can't help but feel both liberated and exposed. I thought I could control the narrative, but once I posted that confession, it felt like the world took hold of it. Now, with everyone knowing, I'm left to navigate the unknown. Confession doesn't always bring peace, it often brings chaos. That post was my cry for understanding, but now that everyone knows, I feel like I'm drowning in the aftermath. What was meant to be an honest confession now feels like a spotlight on my deepest fears. Everyone knows, and there's no going back from this moment of vulnerability. That post was my confession, but now it's become my prison. The world knows, and I can't escape the weight of what's been revealed. I thought sharing my truth would bring closure, but instead, it's opened a floodgate of emotions. Now that everyone knows, I'm forced to face the consequences of my confession. Sometimes the truth hurts more when it's out in the open. That post was my confession, and now that everyone knows, I can't help but feel exposed and vulnerable. I thought confessing would make me stronger, but instead, it feels like I've just made myself an open target. Now that the world knows, I'm not sure where to go from here. The moment I posted that confession, it felt like I let go of everything. But now that everyone knows, I'm left to question if letting go was the right decision after all. Confession is a heavy burden, and once it's out there, you can never take it back. That post was my release, but now I'm haunted by the knowledge that everyone knows. I wanted to let the truth out, but now I feel like I've been stripped bare. Everyone knows, and the weight of that knowledge is heavier than I ever imagined. Once I posted that confession, it was like the floodgates opened, and now the world knows what was once hidden, and I'm left to pick up the pieces of what's been revealed. Confessions are supposed to bring relief, but they also expose you in ways you never expected. That post was my moment of truth, and now that everyone knows, I'm left to wonder if I made the right choice. That post was my confession, and now I can't stop thinking about how everything has changed. The world knows, and I'm left to navigate the aftermath of my own honesty. I never thought a single post would unravel me the way it did. That confession felt necessary, but now that everyone knows, I'm not sure where to go from here. The truth was too heavy to carry alone, so I shared it with the world. But now that everyone knows, it feels like I'm carrying the weight of the world on my shoulders. Once my confession was out there, everything shifted. I thought it would bring me peace, but instead, it's left me exposed, vulnerable, and unsure of how to move forward. That post wasn't just words. It was an invitation for the world to see me for who I really am. Now that everyone knows, I'm faced with the consequences of my truth. I thought that posting my confession would free me, but now that everyone knows, I'm not sure what freedom really feels like anymore. Confession can be liberating, but it can also be a trap. That post was my release, but now I feel like I've walked straight into the very thing I was trying to avoid. Once the post went up, I knew there was no going back. Now that everyone knows, I'm left to wonder if the price of truth was worth the cost of my own privacy. The confession was out, and with it, everything changed. Now, I'm left to pick up the pieces of my vulnerability wondering if I made a mistake. I thought the confession would be a moment of closure, but instead, it opened a door I can't shut. Now that everyone knows, I feel more exposed than ever. That post was supposed to be my release, but now it feels like a burden. Everyone knows, and I'm left to face the reality of what I've shared. Confessions are like stepping into the unknown. Once you take the leap, there's no turning back. Now that everyone knows, I'm left to face whatever comes next. That post was my confession, and now I can't escape the reality of what I've shared. The world knows, and I'm left to deal with the aftermath of my own honesty. I thought confessing would bring clarity, but now it feels like everything has become more complicated. Everyone knows, and I'm not sure where to go from here. Once the words were out, I realized there was no way to take them back. That post was my confession, and now I'm left to navigate the consequences of revealing my truth. I didn't realize how much weight that confession would carry until everyone knew. Now, I'm not sure if I'm stronger for sharing it or weaker for the vulnerability it brought. The moment I shared my truth, everything shifted. Now that everyone knows, I'm left to wonder if I made the right choice in confessing or if I should have kept it to myself.